on Fire TV Sticks and on ZingoTV on Chromecast and all smart TVs 2016 forward. Please remember to download the Barn Burner and ZingoTV apps in their respective app stores. Both are free on both iOS and Android devices. While you're using, please remember to rate and leave a comment so we know that you're enjoying them and getting the most out of your usage. So on this episode of the OHL Experience, we're going to part way this between the OHL Experience and the World Juniors Experience, but we're going to start with some OHL notes from around the league, which really has been going on since December the 21st, which is Monday. So with that being said, this is actually kind of a partial Western Eastern kind of thing. So we're actually going to start like this. The 2021 WHL draft has been rescheduled from May 2021 to December 2021, all the way up to the end of next year. So the press release from the WHL is like this as they continue to ponder what their season looks like as well. So the press release reads, the Western Hockey League announced today that the 2021 WHL draft, previously referred to as the WHL Bantam Draft, has been rescheduled and will be conducted in December 2021. The WHL draft was originally scheduled to take place in May 2021. In a statement from Commissioner Ron Robinson, he said, moving the 2021 WHL draft from May to December allows additional time for players in the 2006 age group to be evaluated following a challenging season due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We anticipate minor hockey leagues and tournaments will still be fully operational in the fall, which will allow players to compete at a high level once again. The WHL also announced that the 2021 WHL Cup is tentatively scheduled to be held in October 2021, featuring WHL draft eligible players, providing another opportunity for eligible players to showcase their talents to WHL scouts in advance of the 2021 WHL draft. The 2021 WHL Cup will feature under 16 teams from each of Canada's 4 Western branches, being BC Hockey, Hockey Alberta, the Saskatchewan Hockey Association, and Hockey Manitoba. All 4 will compete for U16 supremacy in Western Canada. The 2020 WHL Cup, which was scheduled to be held in October 2020, was canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Players eligible for the 2021 WHL draft will be 2006 born players who reside in Alberta, BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Northwest Territories, Yukon, Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Idaho, Kansas, Minnesota, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. So a widely push there to try and figure out how to move forward given these certainly uncharted times. The next thing we are expecting from the WHL is to hear that their season has been pushed back again as they realized that their season would not be starting on January 8th. They just said, you know what, we're going to wait and we're going to see how things go. But again, due to the resurfacing of COVID-19, they're not comfortable saying anything yet. So again, we might see a late February start from them, and we're going to expect that from the Ontario Hockey League as well. So speaking of which, Jeff Merrick from Sportsnet then reported that the OHL will also push their draft from April into June rather than all the way to the end of the year. So that kind of got us started yesterday. But however, with that being said, we're now going to move to the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. So that's where things go a little more interesting. So after the OHL delayed its season already, the QMJHL, who's really been through the ringer since starting their season ahead of everyone else, decided that they're going to restart their games in January with all games in just 4 cities. So here's how this is going to go, because they had hoped to the OHL rather had hoped to begin February 4th. However, that won't be happening. The QMJHL is considering all options, including returning in February. So with that being said, here's a story from CBC. The Quebec Major Junior Hockey League says its 12 Quebec-based teams will resume play next month in Chicoutimi, Drummondville, Rimouski, and Shawinigan during the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. The 4 markets will host what it calls protected environment events, January 22nd to the 24th. So it will allow them to get a couple games in. It's not going to be perfect. Then we're going to have to see how they opt to resume games afterwards. Chicoutimi, Drummondville, and Rimouski will then host events from January 29th to the 6th of February. Each arena will host 1 or 2 games per day, with a total of 12 games being played over 9 days, 6 per team, that is. The league says it hopes its 6 teams in the Atlantic Canada can resume play as soon as January 21st, at which point they will figure out how to get play going there. They might just do a bubble in Halifax or something. Again, yet to be determined. As well, we have to remember that with Shawinigan, Drummondville, Rimouski, and Chicoutimi hosting games, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Shawinigan as well. The certain parts of Quebec have been on red zone for months, it's really provided a challenge because junior hockey has not been allowed to play according to the provincial government, which is again providing challenges to the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League in order to get games in. And we know that earlier this season, outbreak, and then along with that, they also saw additional challenges in other parts of Quebec. And then Atlantic Canada really started to get hit by it. So, additional challenges provided there. So anyways, that being said, the league says it hopes that 6 teams can play again as soon as January 21st. And whether that's possible or not at this time, we do not know. But that to be said, the Ontario Hockey League delayed the February start of its season, and the OHL announced Wednesday the season will not start on February 4th. The date targeted earlier this year, players were scheduled to report to their teams in early January. So that being said, that's actually what we're about to delve into next, as we expected an announcement coming from the Ontario Hockey League to kind of give us an update. So here's, I think, how we're going to do this. So that being said, there was an OHL GM meeting over the phone or via Zoom within the last couple of days, and OHL insiders had reported that it was really just your, I don't know, your casual phone call. Nothing terribly exciting happened. There was no news that went with it. They were just discussing many options. So as we start to get more into the Ontario Hockey League side of things, we're actually going to start, before we get into, what that phone call is about and moving forward into the rest of it, let's kind of touch on the World Juniors and the OHL a little bit, because Ellen Walsh, who is a well-renowned agent within the National Hockey League, announced that Jan Mysick, who was drafted by the Canadiens in the second round this year in 2020, has been named as captain of the Czech U20 national junior team for the World Junior Championship. So some exciting news there. Mysick played with the Hamilton Bulldogs in the Ontario Hockey League. So certainly a time of excitement for him and for the Czech Republic to have a leader like him at the helm. So let's get back to OHL Insiders now. Again, this was 21 hours ago where OHL Insiders said that the OHL GM's call today basically was just telling/reminding teams that the provincial lockdown includes the Ontario Hockey League and that nothing is to happen until that lockdown is lifted. However, certain parts of Ontario have already been under lockdown for extended periods of time already, such as York, Halton, Durham, and now Hamilton is under lockdown, and starting Boxing Day, all parts of Ontario will be under lockdown. So that being said, the OHL is not able to do anything until the point of which that's lifted, and that might not be until mid-January. Again, we still are waiting for further details on that. So as such, there are no dates or anything mentioned from that phone call. And as others have mentioned before, expect the draft to be pushed back, as Jeff Merrick once said earlier, which I mentioned, now from April to June. So that has not yet been announced by the league, but certainly is expected. So let's get into it more, because we've got a lot to cover today. So on today's show, we are going to get into the World Juniors. We're going to get into a lot of different things as it pertains to the Ontario Hockey League, and all the struggles that have certainly taken their toll just to get A, the World Juniors underway, and B, the Ontario Hockey League to a point of which they would be able to play, because right now they are not. So before we do that, I will note that this is from Mike Morial from NHL.com, who says, interesting to note that Czech Republic goalie in 2021 NHL draft eligible Nick Malik will start the first preliminary round game against Sweden on December the 26th. That's 3 days away. Malik is a member of the OHL Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. He will start ahead of Jan Bednar, a prospect of Detroit, and Luke Perrick, a prospect of the Kings. So that being said, now let's get into the Ontario Hockey League things. Before I start touching on yesterday's first games of the World Juniors pre-tournament. So that to be said, the Ontario Hockey League announced this morning, December the 23rd, that they are now pushing back their season and thus having it delayed again. Thus, it will not begin on February 4th as it was scheduled. So the statement from OHL Commissioner David Branch reads as follows. After a meeting with our Board of Governors and General Managers, the OHL has made the decision to delay the start of the 2020-21 season. Training camps had been scheduled to begin in mid-January. Many players were set to report to their teams in early January, and games were scheduled to commence on February 4th, 2021. This decision follows Premier Ford's announcement of a province-wide shutdown in Ontario commencing on December 26, 2020. The league will continue to consult and work closely with governments and health authorities to determine potential start dates in the new year. The safety of all our stakeholders and communities is our priority, and we are committed to starting the 2020-21 season when it is safe to do so. We know that this is difficult news for many of our players, fans, billets, parents, staffs, and teams. However, the restrictions both provincially in Ontario as well as nationally with regards to cross-border travel have informed our decision. On behalf of the OHL, we wish everyone a safe and healthy holiday season, and we look forward to dropping the puck when we safely start the 2020-21 season. So that being said, as we touch upon the struggles of the Ontario Hockey League, duly noted that there were cities such as Niagara, Windsor, and Sarnia that were set to host the 3 American teams within the Ontario Hockey League, that being the Flint Firebirds, Saginaw Spirit, and the Erie Otters. So, they were going to split their arenas at the time of which play finally got underway. But again, cross-border travel is just not allowed right now, especially with the uprise in Ontario and certain parts such as York, Durham, and around surrounding areas. So, are we surprised by this? Not at all. This has been coming for some time now. So, it's unfortunate, but this is just, this year has been really, really tough. I'm not going to lie. It's been incredibly difficult as someone who continuously covers sports to be able to do this. I find that challenges have hit me as well on a personal level in, the respect of, getting sports, continuing to tell sports stories and, get the thoughts of athletes, coaches, whomever it may be, covering the World Juniors, covering tournaments prior, learning about OHL players in youth sports. It hasn't ended and it's provided a lot of challenges. So, the one thing we all have to remember about this is we're all in this together and, we are going to get out of this. Duly noted that the Moderna vaccine is officially granted authorization within the Canada, and within the next 48 hours, we're expecting our first shipments, and it'll be about 160K doses of it, or vials rather. And then there'll be, I believe, 20K or something along those lines additionally shipped by March. So, great news there. That might have actually been 200K, not 20K. But anyways, that to be said, we're just trying to get through this and push along as best we can. But, again, it's really unfortunate that the players who were, anticipating to be back on the ice after not being elected to the World Juniors and, being out for about 8 months now with no hockey, the troubles just keep piling on. And, this is like the 3rd or 4th time that the OHL has had to make an announcement delaying its season or something to that regard. So certainly not the easiest of times, but we are going to get through this together. And the best way we can get through this is if everyone stays home, washes their hands, only goes out for essential reasons, social distances. We all have to, pull together here. Again, it's not an easy time, but if we can really kind of set our minds to doing this, we can get sports back and we can get back to normal life. And then the vaccines will start distributing. The numbers will start lowering in the new year. Hopefully by the end of January, we'll start to see a difference. And, by March, things will really start to take its toll with, a mass vaccination on people just like you and me, and we can get back to OHL hockey and CHL hockey surrounding as we know it. So that being said, let's continue onwards with today's show, just because, again, we've got lots to touch on. Yesterday, the first round of pre-tournament games took place. We saw Team Switzerland beat Austria 3-2, and that was Marco Rossi for Team Austria. And then big name for the U.S. was Arthur Kaliev, who scored a goal in the USA's 3-2 win over Team Finland, which was including Anton Lundell and Brad Lambert. So let's start with Team USA's game. Arthur Kaliev from the Hamilton Bulldogs found the back of the net, helping the United States edge Finland 3-2 in pre-tournament action on Tuesday. Montreal Canadiens first-rounder Cole Caulfield scored a pair of goals 35 seconds apart to make the difference in the American victory that saw them outshoot the Finns 45-16. Kaliev was served a checking from behind penalty and 10 misconduct 32 seconds into the game before Finland's Juuso Parssinen, a Nashville Predators prospect, opened the scoring a minute later. Kaliyev got USA on the board as of the first period drew to a close, only to be followed by a pair from Cole Caulfield in the opening minute of the second frame to grant USA a 2-goal lead. Toronto Maple Leafs pick Topi Niemela got the Finns within one at the 8:23 mark of the second period, and a scoreless third period earned USA the win. Former Windsor Spitfires netminder Kari Peronen turned aside 26 of the 29 shots he faced through 40 minutes of play. Rupe Taponen stepped in for the third period, solving all 16 shots. Caulfield was awarded Player of the Game honors, while Anaheim Ducks forward Trevor Zegras recorded 2 assists. Both Parssinen and Niemela were also good for 2 points each. Finland faces off against Germany on December the 26th, or the 25th rather, that's Christmas Day, at 6 p.m. Eastern time, followed by USA and Russia at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time at Rogers Place. So, again, we're seeing the benefits already of OHL players finally being able to hit the ice in some form for those who are named to the World Junior Championships, as the bubble has been formed now in Edmonton ahead of the actual tournament itself. So that being said, let's get into the first game that took place on the ice last night before we get into some Canada stuff from today. So Switzerland again beat Austria and Marco Rossi 3-2 in the very first game of pre-tournament play. And, you know, these teams have been practicing on the ice at Rogers Place now for about 3 days roughly. So it was good to finally see the action start to take place. So that being said, the 2021 World Junior Championship pre-tournament games got underway on Tuesday as Switzerland edged Austria 3-2. Both squads traded early penalties within the game's opening 10 minutes before Gaetan Jobin put the Swiss on the board for a 1-0 lead. They'd carry into the middle frame. Minnesota Wild first-rounder Marco Rossi from the Ottawa 67s was served a penalty for boarding in a 10-minute misconduct 7 minutes into the middle frame, but Matthias Baum was able to even things up within the final 5 minutes of the period. Inaki Baragano from the Kamloops Blazers pushed Switzerland back in front minutes later on the power play to round out the middle frame. After taking three back in the front minutes later on in the power play to round out the middle frame, actually that's the wrong sentence. After taking 3 penalties to open the final 20 minutes, Leon Marchand notched another for Switzerland, but Leon Wallner responded less than a minute later to cut into the Swiss lead for a final 3-2. Marco Rossi was recognized as player of the game, as he really was the playmaker that everyone was bouncing their assist off to, while Baum, on the other hand, finished with a game-high 2 points. Switzerland outshot Austria 23-17, and Swiss netminder Thibault Faton solved all 13 shots over the game's first 30 minutes before Noah Patenaude stepped in for the second half of the matchup, in which he saved 2 of the 4 shots he faced. In net for Austria, Sebastian Ranischitz recorded 20 saves on 23 shots. Switzerland will kick off tournament action at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Christmas Day, while Austria will meet Team USA on December 26th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, which follows in the hands of Canada versus Germany. So really exciting stuff as we start to get closer to the first day of action at the actual World Junior tournament, which again has yet to be played. But with that being said, we're now going to take a look at what's going on with Team Canada. So before we do that, actually, I'm going to make one note as it pertains to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that being said, they have 6 players who are hitting the ice in the World Junior Championship this year. So those 6 players are as follows. Now, those are on the Russian team, forwards Rodi Nemirov and Mikhail Abramov, and goalie Artur Akimov, and 3 on Finland, defenseman Mikko Kokkonen and Topi Niemela, and forward Roni Hirvonen. So just some housekeeping notes there as players to watch. Definitely Kokkonen and Mirov. Now, I spoke with Craig Button on the Puck Authority podcast somewhat recently, and he said that he thinks that it'll be Canada and Russia in the finals. And with the roster like that, I kind of don't doubt it. Again, when you look at a team like Finland, you know, they do have some solid players. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. So do I think they're going to make it to the finals? No, but could they make the semifinals? Absolutely. So really, the rosters are so stacked this year, you know, and you look at Canada's forward core, it's deep. You look at their defensive stuff, also deep. It's anyone's game. It's so, you know, there's so much depth this year, and it's so impressive to see. especially given the struggles of COVID-19 and how it's knocked out players out of this tournament, among other things. So just something to keep in mind as we start to move into Christmas Day, literally 48 hours away at this point from puck drop on the first game of the World Juniors. So that being said, we are going to continue to move onwards with today's show. And again, we're going to do that by touching on Team Canada now. But really, before we do, I should mention that one of their players who attended selection camp in Red Deer, Mason Millman, he left selection camp after being sent home with the group of 5, which included Ridley Gregg, among a couple others. This also included Tristan Lennox. And just a couple days later, he signed his first NHL contract with the Philadelphia Flyers. So, sure, he got dealt, a crappy hand as he was basically told, you're unfit to play after, evaluations as some players who were in the Red Deer bubble, A, either contracted COVID-19 while there, or B, had COVID-19 before arriving in Red Deer. Thus, their bodies just weren't ready to take the toll that the World Juniors would require for, a supreme battle, as is usually the case in the World Juniors. So that being said, let's get through this press release quickly. The Philadelphia Flyers announced they have signed defenseman Mason Millman, the club's 4th-round pick, 103rd overall in the 2019 NHL draft, to a 3-year entry-level contract, according to President of Hockey Operations and General Manager Chuck Fletcher. Millman completed his second full season in 2019-20 in the Ontario Hockey League with the Saginaw Spirit, where he posted 44 points on 13 goals and 31 assists in 58 regular season games. His 13 goals and 44 points led Saginaw defenseman. Now, he also played with Cole Perfetti, who did make the roster this year after not making the roster last year. Millman also recorded a plus-minus rating of +31, which ranks second on the team's defense and 5th overall among OHL defensemen. In the 2019 OHL playoffs, Millman recorded 5 points on 2 goals and 3 assists and was a +12 in 13 games for the Spirit. In his second full year in the Ontario Hockey League, all with Saginaw, Millman doubled his points per game output with 44 points in a shortened 58-game season, which was a 0.76 compared to his first full season with 25 points in 66 games, which would have made for a 0.38. He also added 10 more goals with 3 goals in 2018-19 to 13 goals in 2019-20. Over parts of 3 seasons with Saginaw, he has a total of 69 points, 16 goals, and 53 assists for a +52 rating in 130 regular season games. Millman is the first player from the Flyers 2019 draft class to sign an entry-level contract. For more on that, you can go to the OntarioHockeyLeague.com or Flyers.com. So, anyways, let's continue on because we have so much to get to today. Anyways, that to be said, we are going to do a couple more housekeeping notes before officially touching on Team Canada. So let's move on from Philadelphia and move on to Kitchener. So the Kitchener Rangers have raised $4,000 for Make-A-Wish Foundation of Southwestern Ontario through an online jersey auction. So traditionally, every September, the Kitchener Rangers host a fan appreciation barbecue to coincide with the start of the exhibition season at the Odd. Each year, the proceeds generated from the event would go to support Children's Wish Make-A-Wish. However, with the arrival of the COVID-19 pandemic and in-person gatherings being limited or for that reason not allowed at all, they were unable to host the event in 2020. Alternatively, the Rangers and Rangers Reach collaborated on hosting an online event to auction our alternate third game jerseys, allowing us to continue to support Make-A-Wish Southwestern Ontario. And Baum Make-A-Wish volunteer accepts the donation from Kitchener Rangers past president and fan appreciation barbecue organizer Sean McKelvey and Rangers Reach executive director Craig Campbell, as seen in the picture at OntarioHockeyLeague.com. As a result of the great support from Rangers Nation, we were able to raise $4,715.70 for a Make-A-Wish Southwestern Ontario. The funds will go a long way to help provide wishes for many children in our area facing critical illnesses. So for more information on this wonderful donation from the Kitchener Rangers, please visit the Make-A-Wish Southwestern Ontario website, or you can visit the Rangers Reach Programs website as well. So as we start to round out the housekeeping notes, there are a pair of stories on 2 players from Team Canada who are making a difference already going into this year's tournament. So One of those is Philip Tomasino, who has been clicking really well with Connor Zary and Kirby Dach. And Kirby Dach was named the captain just a couple days ago of Team Canada, alongside Dylan Cousins as an alternate, and Bowen Byram as the other alternate. Now, what's really nice is that Philip Tomasino has also been clicking really well with Bowen Byram, who has been on the back end of that line that I just mentioned. So, I think that it's almost a perfect fit. So, I think that this is really awesome that Tomasino is finally getting the recognition he deserves as a prospect of the Nashville Predators and formerly of what I believe is the Niagara Ice Dogs, and now finishing his OHL career with the Oshawa Generals, again, given the timeline of which the Ontario Hockey League is able to make its return to Ontario safely. So, and we'll touch on that, but I want to make sure that I make enough time for some Canada notes today, as they are holding a press conference this morning in Edmonton. So just a couple housekeeping notes as we kind of sift through these. Devon Levy is the goaltender starting for Team Canada tonight in Game 1 at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So do look out for him. Meanwhile, Mark Masters reports that Caden Korczak, Jordan Spence, and Philip Tomasino are all on the ice at optional team practice this morning for morning skate. Nothing confirmed, but appears that there'll be scratches tonight. Now, Dylan Garand and Taylor Gauthier also on the ice today. So, as we continue on with Canada notes, Jack Quinn said in today's press conference that he likes playing on the left side and that he's more dangerous being able to cut to the middle. So we are starting to kind of learn more about these players as things go on. Speaking of which, Dylan Garand will be the backup for Canada tonight behind Devon Levy. Plan is for Levy to play the entire game, but Coach Andre Tourigny didn't rule out Garand playing a bit. So just some more housekeeping notes as we go along here with today's press conference. Today's press conference was short and sweet, so there's not really a whole lot to touch on in that regard. So that being said, we are going to start getting into the story aspect to round out today's show. However, before we do that, I am going to go back to Mark Masters, as there are a couple more housekeeping notes. So as Bob McKenzie reports, the plan is to dress 8 defensemen tonight. So Korczak, Spence just getting some extra work in this morning. They project to be 7-8 on the depth chart. Now, Bob McKenzie also says Team Canada will dress 13 forwards and 2 goaltenders today. Again, the goaltenders mentioned Garand and Levy. That to be said, they'll also have one extra skater than usual. So to that note, it is a pre-tourney game, so they're really just kind of testing the waters. So again, Tomasino confirmed will not suit up today. For now, he's been designated as the 14th forward, which is a testament to the depth of a seemingly stacked offensive group. And then with that, Bob McKenzie also reports that if Tourigny sticks with the power plays he's been using in practice, it's Cousins and McMichael on the half walls with Doc net front, Krebs in the bumper spot, and Byram up top on the blue line. The second unit is Perfetti Newhook half wall, Byfield net front, Quinn bumper, Harley on point. So just to give you some context of what it is Team Canada is looking at tonight. More than that, head coach Andre Tourigny is eager to see how players respond to a live fire exercise. For all but a handful of his players, it's their first real game in more than 9 months, and it comes against a formidable foe. So McKenzie continues on to note a couple more things. It's also a reflection of Ryan Suzuki from Carolina, who had been the 14th forward at start of the week, having had a better week of practice than Tomasino. Devon Levy, again, will start in goal, which suggests the number 1 job is his to lose. Dylan Garand will dress today. Taylor Gauthier will not. As for the forward lines, Andre Tourigny has been an open book with them at practice this week. The top unit is returning Dylan Cousins, between team captain and NHL player Kirby Dach on the right and Jack Quinn on the left. The next unit, which may be termed more shutdown than second line necessarily, is Alex Newhook between Dylan Holloway and Jacob Pelletier. They've had good chemistry in practice, but we'll get a huge test today when they take the ice at 6 p.m. Eastern time. They'll get the tough matchups, and this, again, is Team Russia that they're facing. So a lot of housekeeping notes, but ahead of the first World Juniors game, our pre-tournament for that matter, you wouldn't expect anything less. So just a couple things to be mindful of. So that being said, let's get into the storylines with about 25 minutes left on today's show of the OHL Experience. So let's get right into it here. This story again on Philip Tomasino, saying Generals Tomasino confident ahead of World Juniors debut. If there's any advice Philip Tomasino is banking on while he gears up for puck drop at the World Juniors, it's the simple words of three-time Team Canada participant Ryan Ellis. Play your game and be confident in yourself. It's advice he picked up over the summer while living with the defenseman during Nashville Predators camp in the midst of quite an accomplished year for the Oshawa General standout, and advice he's hoping will pay off as he looks to help Canada defend gold on home soil. With a 100-point season in the books, the 6-foot centerman turned heads over the 2019-20 campaign as a dependable offensive threat, good for faceoffs, good for finishing plays, and good for putting pucks in the net. Now he's looking to bring his expertise to the international stage, living out a childhood dream. I've always dreamed of this since I was a little kid, so I think anytime you get the chance to represent your country, it's an unbelievable feeling. Looking back to the trade that sent him to Oshawa almost a year ago, the 19-year-old Mississauga native credited the general staff with helping him improve his game in preparation for the next steps in his career. He said, I continued to work on my defensive game. That definitely improved over the second half of the year last year. That was kind of the biggest thing for me. And now just becoming an overall player is something I really want to work on. Obviously, when you get to play with the pro guys, they're so good over the ice, or all over the ice. So that was a big step for me to take. And I think I definitely improved on that a lot. Lining up alongside fellow stars that include Quinton Byfield and Connor Zary during this week's final practices, he acknowledged speed, skill, and versatility as contributors to his teammates' dominance. Speaking to that, Tomasino said, Byfield's a pretty big guy, and he's pretty fast, and obviously Zary's a fast, skilled player as well. We're fast players, and if we use our speed and our size to our advantage, I think we'll be a pretty good line. We have 4 deep lines, so I think we're going to be a tough line, and I'm looking forward to playing with those guys for sure. I think we're going to stick to our games for sure. I think everyone in that sense wants to retrieve pucks and get pucks, but at the same time, we have the ability to put pucks in the back of the net, so I think we're just going to play our games. Upon getting the opportunity to skate with him over the past month, Chicago Blackhawks forward Kirby Dach spoke highly of Tomasino's presence on and off the ice. Phil's obviously a super smart player. He knows where to put pucks. He's fast as well. I think speed like that, it always helps, and he has a ton of skill. Obviously, Nashville sees something in him. He'll be a great pro. He's fun to be around in the dressing room, too. He's always trying to talk with guys and learn, and that's a big thing. He's got a lot of confidence, and when you're playing with confidence, it really helps you out, not only individually, but as a line. That confidence is something that grew exponentially during his front row seat to the NHL lifestyle and time spent rooming with Ellis, who he says he learned a lot from in preparation for his World Juniors debut. Now, I wrote about this as well for the puckauthority.com and barnburner.ca during Team Canada selection camp in Red Deer. You can find that story again at thepuckauthority.com, at puck31, at barnburner.net, and at barnburner.ca. So, again, we talked about it a few times. He's played in this tournament 3 times, so he's a great mentor for that. I learned a ton from him, just off-ice habits, just seeing how hard he works. Obviously, when you get the chance to represent your country, you're going to go all out. So I think getting the chance to talk to him about his experiences here definitely taught me a lot, and it's been a great learning experience for myself. And while he emerged from his NHL stint a much more confident player, he's expecting a mix of excitement and nerves upon hitting the ice in Edmonton with the Maple Leaf on his chest. I'm definitely going to be excited come the first game, and I think I'll definitely be a little nervous, but I'm looking forward to that feeling. So that's the story on Tomasino, and the next story is on Cole Perfetti saying spirits Perfetti eager to help Canada defend gold. So and we'll run the course through this story as well. Then we'll run on some final notes. So that being said, let's get into just some final, routine World Junior stuff as we start to near the ending of today's show. Again, you can find all your notes on the OHL and the World Juniors at thepuckauthority.com, at Justin Levine HBS on Twitter. And I will, again, break into the final roster just as soon as I'm done this story on Perfetti. Again, we have to remember that this is a full tournament that they're trying to make sure that they can play, and so having all this context of who the players are, not only as players but as people, is a really important thing. So just something to keep in mind as we continue to move forward with today's show, in which we have just over 15 minutes left. So let's get right into it, just because there is so much more. So that being said, I introduce you to the player who none other than the offensive machine, that is Cole Perfetti. So everything happens for a reason, says Cole Perfetti. Awaiting the end of quarantine in his Edmonton hotel room, the Winnipeg Jets first rounder is eager to bring his offensive expertise to Team Canada's World Juniors lineup. I dreamed of this since I was really little, said the Saugeen Spirit forward, who found out he's made the 25-man roster on a call from his parents. Being cut last year, I kind of got the experience but fell short. I really wanted to make the team this year, and when I got the call from my parents saying I was on the team, It was one of the greatest things I've done in hockey so far. Coming off of a 111-point sophomore season in Saginaw, Perfetti's hockey IQ and standout playmaking ability are in line with Canada's depth and flexibility, and while his performance last season speaks for itself, Perfetti has been vocal about turning adversity into motivation, something he was able to do after being cut from the roster last winter in Oakville. I couldn't be happier with where I am today, but at the end of the day, you have to find things that will motivate you and make you want to be the best, so I kind of do that, and using last year being cut as an example, it definitely motivated me and fueled the fire for the rest of the year and going into this camp. Cracking last year's lineup as a draft eligible player was going to be an uphill climb. The Saginaw Spirit standout knew that. Being cut stung nonetheless, but motivated him to prove his doubters wrong. Admittedly, it's the kind of motivation he likes. So, moving forward, he said, I liked that kind of motivation, even this year being drafted 10th overall. There were 8 teams that passed on me. I kind of like using that as motivation and as a way to get mad and find something to keep driving you and keeping making you better. Head coach Andre Turgini has liked what he's seen from the 18-year-old forward, speaking highly of his progression and ability to learn. I think he's got better every game, Turgini said, following the team's final practice before heading back into quarantine ahead of the tournament. He's a smart kid. He wants to learn. He wants to please you. He wants to do what he needs to do. He's a fun kid to coach. I think early in the camp, he needed to grasp the concept and get better defensively, which he did. I really like the way he plays. We moved him on a different lineup every game. He showed he can adjust. That is something that Andre Turgini has been seeking since day one of selection camp in Red Deer. On a team stacked with first line go-to guys, Perfetti knows versatility is key to meeting expectations and is confident he's able to adapt whatever role he's given. When you bring all those elite players together, everyone can't be a first liner, so you have to be able to adapt and be versatile in the lineup. That's what I'm trying to bring, Perfetti said. Hopefully, I can be that offensive guy that I'm used to being, but if my role is to block shots, kill penalties, be a role guy, so be it, and I'm going to embrace that and do it to the best of my ability to try and win gold. And while there may be a little part of him playing with a chip on his shoulder, he won't be thinking about the past when he hits the Edmonton ice donning the maple leaf. His sights are set on defending gold. Last year, it was an honor to be named to the camp, and then obviously I wanted to make the team, but it ran its course. It's different this year. It's a completely different lineup, said Perfetti. I'm kind of just thinking about the future, whatever I can do to help the team. It would definitely be nice to play very well and get a little bit of revenge for last year, but at the end of the day, I just want to play as good as I can and do whatever I can to win a gold medal. So, again, there's a lot riding on this year's World Juniors, and it's not just for Team Canada players, it's for everyone. Keep in mind the fact, of course, that Team Canada did have the longest selection camp out of everyone who's participating in this tournament. The rest of them had a 1-week selection camp back in their home countries. So the U.S. had a 1 week in Michigan. In Fusen, Germany had 1 week, Sweden had 1 week, Austria had 1 week, Finland had 1 week, and anyone I'm missing also had 1 week. So, just a couple of things to kind of tie the knot on today's show. So, the rest of, everything else that's going on ahead of the World Juniors is more or less just, a background on again, who these players are, what they're looking for, what the coaches mainly are looking for. Nate Lehman, head coach of Team USA, was on NHL Network a couple days ago, saying that he's liked what he's seen so far, and that he's looking forward to seeing the depth of his team really push and claim a gold. So I think that's going to be something that obviously stands out. So yeah, be on the lookout for the spectacular play of the World Juniors because there's just so much more coming, and it's only going to get better from this point forward, really. So if you're not someone who watches the World Juniors just yet, make sure you are, because it's going to be so good. And I don't know how you can't watch it. Look, I was kind of against the fact that the World Juniors was playing given the COVID-19 pandemic, and given that selection camp was really rough for every single camp. But again, Hockey Canada, who is at the head of this tournament, said that the bubble in Edmonton will be tighter than what Canada's bubble was like in Red Deer, hence the virus got in. And so they're trying to avoid that happening again. So that being said, I think I'm just going to end by reading the final rosters and making a few quick housekeeping notes. So Again, here's what the final roster looks like for Team Canada. That's Dylan Garn, Taylor Gauthier, Devin Levi, Justin Barron, Bowen Byram, Jamie Drysdale, Caden Gooley, Thomas Harley, Caden Korchak, Braden Schneider, Jordan Spence, Quinton Byfield, Dylan Cousins, Kirby Dock, Dylan Holloway, Peyton Krebs, Connor McMichael, Dawson Mercer, Alex Newhook, Jacob Pelletier, Cole Perfetti, Jack Quinn, Ryan Suzuki, Philip Tomasino, and Connor Zari. So again, 21st round picks are on this roster. So that's something that stands out as well. Along with the fact that some of their top point producers include Cole Perfetti, Connor McMichael, and Philip Tomasino. And the leading CHL goal scorer is Jack Quinn with 52. And one of the best defensive prospects for the NHL is Bowen Byram, who is also a part of Team Canada's win last year and will be a part of their run for the Cup this year. So let's continue on. Team USA's final roster looks like this. It's Spencer Knight, Logan Stein, Dustin Wolf, Brock Faber, Drew Hellison, Ryan Johnson, Tyler Clevin, Jackson Lacombe, Jake Sanderson, Hunter Skinner, Henry Thrun, Cam York, Matthew Beignet, Brett Berard, Matthew Boley, Bobby Brink, Brendan Brisson, Cole Caulfield, Sam Colangelo, John Farinacci, Arthur Kaliev, Patrick Moynihan, Landon Seigert, Alex Turcotte, and Trevor Zegras. So duly noted that one player on this roster is from the Ontario Hockey League, and that is Hunter Skinner from the London Knights, taking over for one of the three players who were not cleared by Boston University due to concern of COVID-19. So the others were Drew Comesso and one other player who I cannot remember off the top of my head. Meanwhile, those who were sent home include Thomas Bordelot and Johnny Beecher. Johnny Beecher had a false negative test, but that kicked him out of the tournament, as unfortunate as that is. So, another thing to keep in mind that we are going to continue to see this with COVID-19 testing. It won't be perfect, but it is what it is, unfortunately, for the year. So that being said, let's move into Finland's roster. Their final roster includes Joel Blomqvist, then a couple other standout names, again, are Brad Lambert and Anton Lundell, and they are joined by Kari Peronen, Rupe Taponen, Santeri Hataka, Veal Heinola, Mikko Kokkonen, Topi Niemela, Kasper Pudio, Ruben Rafkin, Matthias Reginiemi, Emil Viro, Samuel Helenius, Roni Hervonen, Robbie Gervanti, Benjamin Korhonen, Matthias Mantikivi, Henry Nikkanen, Mikko Petman, Petteri Puhaka, Mikael Pidia, Juuso Parsinen, Aku Ratti, and Kasper Simon Tyvel. So just a couple of extra house cleaning notes as we continue to go through the rosters. For Russia, we see a couple standouts such as Yaroslav Askarov, who's going to be a brick wall to get past, and joining him include Shakir Mukamadulin, a prospect of the New Jersey Devils, Daniel Chaika from the Guelph Storm of the Ontario Hockey League. And then, there are just some other standouts, especially from the QMJHL. We see Mikhail Abramov and Vasil Ponomaryov, and then the rest of the roster looks like this. So that includes, I'm going to try and get as many of these as I can correct, just because these names are a little bit harder. So Artur Akyamov, Vsevolod Skotnikov, Roman Baikov, Semyon Kistikov, Kirill Kirsanov, Artemy Niyazev, Yan Kuznetsov, Yegor Shevkovtsov, Yegor Afanaseyev, again, Rodi Nemirov, someone else to look out for, again, a prospect of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Zakhar Bardakov, Daniel Bashkarov, Yegor Chainikov, he's a Blue Jackets pick, Vladislav Verstov, Arseny Gritsyak, Maxim Groshev, Marat Kuznetsov, Vasily Podkolzin, Vancouver pick, Vasil Ponomaryov, Ilya Safonov, and Yegor Spiridonov. So I think I mastered most of those names, and again, we see a wide variety of familiar names here, some of which played in last year's tournament, which took place in the Czech Republic. So, just something else to keep in mind. So let's continue on with Team Sweden's final roster, which looks like this, with a couple of familiar names, such as Jesper Wallstedt, the goaltender from Luleå in the SHL. And then joining him, we also see a familiar name such as Noel Gunler from Brynäs IF, Alexander Holtz from Djurgården IF. Then joining him, not really a whole lot else in terms of familiarity, except for Philip Broberg, who is the captain and a prospect of the Edmonton Oilers. So I'm going to try and pronounce these names right as well, and then we're going to get into the final scheduling, and I think that'll probably wrap up today's edition of the OHL Experience. So it includes Hugo Alnefelt, Cal Klang, Emil Andre, Gustav Berglund, Tobias Bjornfoot, another familiar name actually, Alex Brandstam, Ludvig Hedstrom, Albert Johansson, Victor Soderstrom, another familiar name, Arizona, Oscar Bierselius, Arvid Kostmar, Emil Heinemann, Simon Holmstrom, Oscar Vist, Theodore Niederbach, Zion Nybeck, Oscar Olausson, Lucas Raymond. He's going to be one to look out for anyone who's following Team Sweden closely this year, especially because there are many who seem to think that Team Sweden, despite their struggles, are going to make a run for at least the semifinals in this year's tournament. So we conclude with Albin Sundsvik, Elmer Soderblom, and Jonathan Wilkstrom. So again, COVID-19 has riddled their roster, which means fewer NHL draft picks on the roster. However, there are still many of the top junior players who will be on their roster competing in this year's tournament, and will be the assets to getting the job done here. So again, we look at goaltenders: Askarov, Russia; Wallstedt here; Canada's goaltenders; USA's goaltenders. Then you just look at the the forward core, and I mean, it's so impressive. So they still have a chance despite the fact that they've struggled. So I'm not doubting that we see that kind of take a toll on them for that reason. The only thing that I think is going to be hard for them is getting their feet under them and playing a full 60 minutes. I think they're going to start off sluggish, and I think they're going to have trouble kind of catching up and getting chemistry, especially. I think this might even happen with all teams, and I think that that having more than one pre-tournament game per team would have been more beneficial. But again, due to the circumstances, they're doing what they have to do, especially with Team Sweden and Team Germany still in partial quarantine. So it is what it is. And so the forming of chemistry is going to be a little bit on the challenging side, but, they're going to make the best of the situation and, go with the hand that they were dealt. So that being said, let's take a look at the official schedule for the World Junior Tournament. So again, we know that pre-tournament games are well underway at this point. And so those are not yet done yet. So here is kind of what this schedule looks like. Let's start with December the 25th. So it looks like Team Finland will play Team Germany on Christmas Day. I might actually have this wrong, just trying to figure out what this looks like. Yeah, sorry. So it looks like it's Finland and Germany Christmas Day, and they'll be followed by Sorry, no, this schedule isn't actually correct. So let's get the IIHF website up to get you the actual schedule for the tournament, because that is missing some portions that were not corrected due to again, the COVID-19 challenges that are being faced. So that being said, here's the upcoming games. We see Switzerland, Slovakia at 12 p.m. Eastern time, and that is at Rogers Place in Edmonton, and that will be followed by Germany and Finland. Then that'll be followed by Russia and the USA. 3 games per day is what this is mostly going to consist of. Then on the 26th, we're going to see Sweden play Czech, and that's going to be followed by the Germans playing the Canadians, followed by the Americans playing the Austrians, and that's just the first 2 days. So the next 2 days see Finland play Switzerland, Slovakia play Canada, and the Czechs play Russia. Now, on the 28th, Austria kicks off the day against Sweden, followed by Slovakia and Germany. Then those are just 2 games. Then we're going to see 3 games on the 29th, and that's going to see the Americans play the the Czech Republic. We're going to see the Canadians follow that up against the Swiss, and then we're going to see the Austrians conclude the day against the Russians. So moving into the 30th, we're going to see Finland play Slovakia, followed by Switzerland playing Germany, and Russia concluding the day against Sweden. On New Year's Eve, we're going to see the Czech Republic play the Austrians, followed by Canada playing Finland, and then that will be concluding with Sweden versus the Americans. So following that, there will be a couple days off in which we're going to see play resume on January 2nd for the quarterfinals, in which there will be 3 matchups, or actually there's going to be 4 matchups that day. So I imagine play is going to begin quite early. And then the semifinals are going to be on January 4th with another day off in between. And that will see 2 semifinal games take place. Then we're going to see a final semifinal take place on January 5th, followed by the final followed right afterwards. So, it's a really exciting time for the World Juniors. And yes, there are challenges still to come. Yes, they have to be really careful of what they do between the hotel and the arena, and just make sure that, everyone's keeping their distance, that masks are on, when they're not on the ice. Something else really interesting to note, actually, is the fact that we are going to see masks in the penalty box. As it appeared, that was seen last night during a pre-tournament game. So, all the proper precautions are being taken in order to, achieve the most success that they're able to in, curving risks of the virus, and making sure that, they are getting the most that they possibly can out of this year's tournament, before any, possible challenges that may arise. So that being said, Mayor, I remind you that Team Canada is playing their only pre-tournament game again tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern time in just a couple hours. This game can be seen on TSN Sports and heard across TSN Radio, and it can be tracked along at hockeycanada.ca. And that is 4 p.m. Mountain time for those who live on the West Coast. So just a couple of housekeeping notes there. But other than that, that really does it for today's show. Please make sure you are following me along, and that can be at Jocelyn Levine HBS on Twitter, and make sure as well that you are following at Puck Authority 1 for all your daily updates as it pertains to the World Juniors in the Ontario Hockey League, where there will be more news coming ahead in the days ahead. So again, that just about does it. I always appreciate everyone who tunes in for every weekly episode. I'm very grateful to be able to cover this tournament, regardless of the fact that I'm not credentialed this year. I look forward to providing the best coverage that I possibly can for the the entertainment and viewership of everyone who takes time to tune in during the day. So that being said, I will round out today by noting that Oilers 2020 first round pick Dylan Holloway will compete with Team Canada today as they take on Team Russia. It'll be their first look and our first look at him as he played on selection camp at the scrimmages, but that was really about all that we saw of him. So again, that does it for this week's episode of the OHL Experience. Make sure to keep yourself posted to OntarioHockeyLeague.com, to IIHFHockey.com, and to the OntarioHockeyLeague.com and the PuckAuthority.com, where I will provide updates from around the league with executives and players to come. So my name is Justin Levine. This is the OHL Experience, signing off.